Hey Reddit. First time poster here. I'm using a throwaway because, well, you'll see why. Let's just say that what started out as a weird gut feeling has unraveled into something out of a soap opera, with betrayal, corporate sabotage, and a hell of a twist. And yeah, revenge too. Sweet, calculated revenge. But I'll get there. Let me start at the beginning. My name's Daniel. I'm 37. Been married to my wife, let's call her Amanda, for almost 10 years. No kids. That was her call, not mine. I wanted them, but Amanda always said she had bigger plans and didn't want to sacrifice her body or ambitions to motherhood. Fair enough. I respected that. Or at least tried to. Amanda and I met at a tech conference. She worked in PR and branding, I was in IT management. She was magnetic, smart, sharp-tongued, full of energy. At the time, I thought she was powerful. Confident. The type of woman who walks into a room and owns it. We hit it off fast. She said she liked that I was stable, grounded, not like the man-child types she'd dated before. I should have read between the lines back then. I was a safe bet. Not exciting, just reliable. For the first couple of years, we were solid. We traveled, renovated a little fix-upper, even adopted a rescue dog. She'd surprise me at work with lunch. We had great sex. We talked about everything. But slowly, almost unnoticeably, it shifted. She started getting more involved in her career. Suddenly she was obsessed with becoming a thought leader. She started going to more events, started hanging out with a new group of friends from her agency and some clients she wouldn't stop mentioning. She got a new wardrobe, one that screamed, "Look at me," rather than, "I'm married." She joined this elite co-working club in the city that charges more for a month than my old college tuition. When I'd question her about the sudden changes, she'd laugh and tell me I was being insecure. "I'm just leveling up, babe," she said. "You should try it." She started coming home later. At first, it was the odd night here and there, drinks with the girls, client dinner, team strategy session. Then it became the norm. When I'd text her asking what time she'd be home, she'd often ignore it. Or reply hours later with something vague like, "Still out, don't wait up." There were subtle things too. She started guarding her phone like it held nuclear codes. Face down always. Face ID instead of a passcode. She changed her Apple ID login, I noticed when the shared calendar stopped syncing. When I brought it up, she claimed she got locked out and made a new one. "Why do you need to see my calendar anyway? You tracking me now?" she'd snap. One night, she left her laptop open on the kitchen island while she showered. I didn't go looking, but the screen lit up with a message, "I miss last night already. Your legs should be illegal fire. From someone saved as G. My stomach sank. She came out of the shower, towel wrapped around her, humming like nothing happened. I acted normal, pretending I hadn't seen it. But something in me broke. That message stuck in my head like a song on repeat. That night, I barely slept. I stared at the ceiling, heart pounding, going through every conversation, every networking event, every late meeting. All the excuses. All the gaslighting. For the first time, I seriously thought, she's cheating. I just didn't know yet that it was with the last person I'd ever expect. The man I reported to every Monday morning. The guy who shook my hand at the company Christmas party. My direct superior. My boss. Yeah. Buckle up. It gets worse before it gets better. The morning after I saw the message from G, I sat at the kitchen table, watching Amanda pour herself coffee like nothing had happened. She was scrolling through her phone, smiling, probably texting him, while I sat across from her wondering how long she'd been sleeping with someone else behind my back. I couldn't bring it up, not yet. I needed more than one message. Amanda was clever. She'd gaslight the hell out of me and spin it as me being paranoid or insecure. I knew her playbook: deny, belittle, deflect, and if none of that worked, cry. So I decided to wait and gather evidence. Now, I'm not proud of this part, but I had to be smart. I started with her laptop. She usually cleared her messages, but I found a cache of downloaded files in her hidden Chrome profile. She was dumb enough to leave it logged in, thinking I wouldn't notice. It had email drafts, unsent and unsaved, full of flirtatious lines like, "Last night was dangerous in the best way," and "I couldn't stop thinking about your hands on me during that boardroom presentation." Boardroom. That was the first clue. Then I noticed a familiar pattern in the emails, times and dates that matched our quarterly corporate events. The weird thing was, she had no official reason to be at those meetings. They were internal, leadership only. She wasn't even with my company. But she was showing up. For him. I dug deeper. I checked the name, G, against my contacts. Nothing stood out. But when I cross-referenced those email drafts with our department head's initials, I felt my stomach drop. G was Gregory H. Greg, my boss. The man who hired me 3 years ago. The one who gave me a promotion last year. The one Amanda always said was so refined and had that CEO energy. I stared at his contact info in our internal directory like I was seeing a ghost. I remembered the company gala from last December. Gregory had been all smiles, offering to refill Amanda's wine glass, his hand brushing hers a little too long. I'd brushed it off. Now it made my blood boil. That night, I finally cracked. I waited for Amanda to go to bed, then used the old phone I'd kept in the junk drawer, still logged into the same cloud she once shared with me. I synced it. It worked. Her backup started loading. That's when the floodgates opened. Photos. Messages. Voice notes. There were dozens, some tame, others explicit. The texts were loaded with inside jokes, weekend plans, dirty fantasies. He called her my little hurricane. She called him Daddy G. She even sent him a selfie from our bed. Our freaking bed. I recognized the pillow behind her. I was probably at work that day, grinding away to pay the mortgage, while she was playing house with my boss. I remember sitting on the floor of my office, just staring at the screen, numb. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I felt hollow. But something else started to creep in. It wasn't just pain anymore. It was rage. This wasn't just a betrayal. This was humiliation. She made me a fool. He made me a fool. And I was about to be the quiet, polite idiot who said nothing while they played me. No. Not this time. I copied every message, every file, every photo. Backed it all up twice. Flash drive, encrypted cloud, even printed some just in case. I was done playing the clueless husband. But I still hadn't confronted her. I wasn't ready, not yet. I needed a plan. I wish I could say I barged into the room with all the fury I was feeling. That I slammed her phone on the table, shoved the evidence in her face, and watched her melt into a puddle of guilt and shame. But no. That's not how it went. Amanda wasn't the type to collapse under confrontation, she thrived in it. And I had to be careful. Strategic. So I waited a few days. Played dumb. Smiled at her over dinner. Asked how work was going. She gave me her usual half-lies, barely looking up from her phone. All the while, I was lining up the pieces behind the scenes. I talked to a lawyer first, one who specialized in high-conflict divorces. Made sure I knew exactly what my rights were, what the legal process would look like, and how to protect myself financially. Amanda had no clue I'd already opened a separate account and started quietly documenting her affair. I didn't want to go into a confrontation blind. When I finally decided to pull the trigger, it was a Saturday night. She had just come back from yet another client dinner. Her dress was tight, her heels were high, and her makeup was too polished for something casual. She walked in, tossed her clutch on the table, and immediately poured herself a glass of wine. "Everything okay?" she asked, noticing me watching her from the couch. I took a deep breath. "Yeah. Just been thinking a lot." She raised an eyebrow. That's dangerous. Not as dangerous as cheating on your husband with his boss. Her expression didn't change at first. She blinked slowly, like she hadn't heard me right. Then she laughed. Actually laughed. What the hell are you talking about? I held up my phone, opened a folder of evidence, and played a voice note. Her voice. Breathless. Giggling. Greg, if you keep doing that, I'm going to lose it right here in your office. She froze. No smile. No denial. Just silence. Then came the shift. The award-winning performance. That's not what it sounds like, she said quickly. That was a joke, just some stupid roleplay thing. I stared at her. You sent him nudes from our bed. You called him Daddy G. You told him you wished I would just disappear so you wouldn't feel guilty anymore. She scoffed. You went through my phone. You violated my privacy. I almost laughed at the irony. You violated our marriage. You lied to me for months. You know what, she said, her voice rising. Maybe I wouldn't have looked elsewhere if you actually made me feel like a woman. You've been boring, Dan. Predictable. You work late, you're emotionally unavailable, and you haven't touched me like you used to in years. I just stared at her. Because I had touched her. I'd tried. I'd begged for connection. But she rejected every effort, only to crawl into someone else's bed and rewrite the narrative like she was the victim. Do you love him? I asked. She hesitated. And that told me everything. I don't know, she said quietly. But he makes me feel alive. That stung. But it also clarified everything. I stood up, walked past her, and said, then you're free to chase that feeling. Just don't expect me to stick around and fund it. Her face twisted into something nasty. You're going to ruin everything over one mistake. I turned back, calm. Amanda, this wasn't one mistake. This was a full-time second relationship. And now it's over. She screamed at me as I walked upstairs. Called me pathetic. Said I'd never find anyone better. But I didn't say a word. I shut the bedroom door, locked it, and started packing a bag. The next morning, she woke up to find me gone. But the game wasn't over. Not even close. Because Amanda didn't know what I'd just discovered about Gregory, and how the tables were already turning in a way she could never have predicted. After I walked out that night, I didn't go to a hotel or crash at a buddy's place like a wounded husband. I went straight to my office. I needed to think, no distractions, no screaming, no drama. Just strategy. Because now this wasn't just about Amanda. It was about Gregory. See, what Amanda didn't know, what Greg didn't know, is that I wasn't just some mid-level IT guy anymore. The promotion I got last year? It wasn't just a title bump. I'd been quietly gaining traction with the board. My team built a new cybersecurity infrastructure that saved the company a 7-figure data breach, and that didn't go unnoticed. I'd been in closed-door talks with the board's chair about stepping into a newly created director of systems position, Gregory's direct superior. They were restructuring, and I was in the running to be the one leading the charge. The offer was unofficial, but I knew it was coming. And now, it wasn't just business, it was personal. Before the board could make anything public, I set a meeting with one of the partners I trusted. I laid out everything, not the affair, that wasn't their concern, but I showed how Gregory had used company resources to pursue a relationship with my wife. Emails sent from his corporate account. Expenses charged to our corporate card from client dinners that were really just dates. Time billed for meetings that never existed. I didn't need to scream, threaten, or make it a tabloid mess. I showed them the facts, quietly, professionally, surgically. They were shocked. I could see it on their faces. One of them muttered, "Jesus." And he thought he wouldn't get caught. They thanked me for bringing it to their attention and promised it would be reviewed immediately. I left that meeting with a calm I hadn't felt in weeks. Amanda tried calling me 3 times that day. I didn't answer. Then came the texts, "Can we talk? I'm sorry, okay? This is all your fault for pushing me away." Classic Amanda. Flip the guilt. Rewrite the story. Gregory texted me too, casual as hell. "Let's grab lunch this week, I've got some exciting updates." I stared at it, wondering if he even knew what was coming. He really thought he was untouchable. By Friday, the email came in. From the board, they had accepted Gregory's resignation, effective immediately. No big announcement. Just, gone. I didn't even need to get my hands dirty. He took himself out with his arrogance and greed. And on Monday, when I walked into the executive wing for my onboarding as his replacement, I passed by Amanda standing in the lobby. She looked shocked. Pale. Like she'd seen a ghost. Her eyes darted to the nameplate on the glass door they'd just changed. Daniel Reed, Director of Systems Integration. She didn't say anything. Just stood there holding her overpriced purse, like maybe she'd come to see him. Maybe she wanted to talk to the man she thought was on top. Too bad he'd already cleared his desk. I walked past her, nodded, and said, "Her lover is my boss. But now I'm his boss." No one in the office needed to know what those words meant. But she did. She finally understood she'd bet on the wrong man. After I took Gregory's role, I kept things strictly professional at the office. I didn't gloat. I didn't strut around announcing I'd taken over his position, or that I was the reason he was gone. I let the silence do the heavy lifting. Everyone noticed, though. Whispers floated through their hallways like wildfire. Some people respected me more overnight. Others looked at me like I had secrets buried in my backyard. And honestly, I kind of did. But outside the office, things got messier. Amanda had gone eerily quiet for a few days after seeing me at the office. No texts. No calls. I figured she was licking her wounds, maybe even trying to clean up whatever mess Gregory had left in her lap. I was halfway through prepping to file for divorce, my lawyer drawing up everything, when suddenly she popped up again, this time in person. It was late. I was home alone, pouring myself a drink and enjoying some rare peace when I heard the doorbell. I checked the camera. Amanda. I thought about ignoring her. But I wanted to see what pathetic excuse she'd bring to the table. So I opened the door. She stood there, holding a small duffel bag and wearing that "I'm vulnerable" expression she only pulled out when she needed to manipulate someone. No makeup. Slightly messy hair. It was an act, I'd seen it before. "Can we talk?" she asked softly, stepping inside without waiting for a yes. She looked around like she was stepping into someone else's life. Maybe she was. "I've been thinking," she started. "I made a mistake." I stayed quiet, leaning against the counter with my arms crossed. I wasn't going to help her dig her own hole. She kept talking. Greg was a fantasy. He said all the right things. Told me I deserved more. But after everything, I see now what I gave up. I miss us. I miss you. Miss me. I said. "You spent the last 6 months trashing me behind my back while screwing my boss." Pretty sure that's the opposite of missing. Her eyes welled up, the tears ready to go. Amanda never cried unless it was useful. "I was scared," she said. "You were always so distant. I thought you didn't want me anymore. I was lonely." I almost laughed. "You were never alone. You just didn't want the man you married. You wanted someone who could impress your little influencer circle." "You don't mean that," she whispered. "No," I said flatly. "I do. You chose him. You gambled everything for ego and attention. And now you're only back because it all blew up in your face." Her voice shifted, icy, bitter. "So you're just done?" "That's it. I was done the moment you looked me in the eyes and lied," I said. "I already filed the papers. They'll be served next week." She looked stunned, like she hadn't realized how fast I'd moved. Maybe she thought I'd still be pining, broken. She didn't expect me to be so resolute. "You can't do this. This is my house too," she snapped. "No. It's a marital asset. And I'm filing for sole ownership. Good luck contesting it when I've got proof of infidelity, misconduct, and abuse of company assets. You really underestimated who you were married to." She went quiet. I could see it in her face, the moment she realized she'd lost. And then she made one last mistake. "You'll regret this," she hissed. I took a sip of my drink and smirked. I already regret wasting 9 years. But I'll fix that in court. She turned and walked out, slamming the door behind her. And for the first time in years, the silence felt like freedom. After Amanda stormed out of the house that night, something inside me finally clicked into place. It wasn't just closure, it was clarity. I had been dragging myself through mud trying to make sense of her betrayal, when the truth was simple: she never wanted a partner. She wanted an accessory. Someone safe, stable, easy to lie to. But I was done being her safety net. And she was about to find out just how bad things could get without it. See, while Amanda had always thrived on appearances, on being the successful, independent woman with the perfect marriage and the balanced life she bragged about online, her brand was built on lies. And I had receipts. Literal receipts. Like the company card charges from Gregory's account that she knowingly benefited from. Hotel rooms. Spa days. Dinners disguised as client events. Even a rental car booked under her name but paid for by him using a company expense account. After Gregory's quiet resignation, the board launched an internal investigation. I kept my hands clean, but when they asked if I had anything relevant, I handed over a tidy folder labeled "Financial Anomalies." It was all very professional. The fallout was fast. Gregory's name became a cautionary tale in the office. His LinkedIn quietly disappeared. He tried to reach out to some of the senior leadership for references, none of them replied. And Amanda? Well, her professional image took a beating too. Her little PR agency had been working with one of our sister companies. Once they caught wind of her involvement with the misconduct, they dropped her firm like a bad stock. She tried to frame it as creative differences in a post on her professional page, but people talk. Especially in corporate circles. I didn't have to say a word. The dots connected themselves. Then came the real kicker. A friend of mine from a major consulting group, someone Amanda had tried, and failed, to flirt with once at a gala, called me up. "Hey, your ex is trying to rebrand herself as a women's empowerment speaker. Might want to keep an eye on that." Sure enough, Amanda had launched a new site, posted staged photos of herself at a podium, and crafted this entire narrative about rising from betrayal and adversity. I almost spit out my coffee reading it. In her version of reality, she was the victim. No mention of the affair. No mention of Gregory. Just vague lines about healing from a toxic marriage. So, I did what any strategic man would do. I sent an anonymous tip, backed with screenshots and timelines, to a few venues she was booked to speak at. I didn't lie. I didn't embellish. I just gave them the truth. Her toxic marriage was actually one she burned to the ground with cheating, manipulation, and misuse of corporate resources. 3 out of 5 gigs pulled her from the roster. Quietly. Professionally. She tried to post through it. Tried to spin it into some tale of haters trying to silence strong women. But the damage was done. Her LinkedIn became a ghost town. Engagement dropped. Her sponsors evaporated. The image she'd spent years cultivating crumbled like wet paper. And the best part? I never had to break a sweat. Meanwhile, I was thriving. Promotion secured. Financially stable. I even started going on dates again, nothing serious, just freeing. Amanda texted again about a week after her last event was cancelled. "Did you do this to me?" I stared at the message for a moment. Then I responded. "No, Amanda. You did this to you. By this point, Amanda had been thoroughly dismantled, socially, professionally, and emotionally. She'd lost her affair partner, her brand deals, her precious influencer status, and her job connections. But if there was one thing I learned about Amanda over the years, it's that she never knew when to quit. So when the divorce papers were served and I included a claim for full ownership of the house, she flipped. I'd been smart about it. My lawyer and I laid out everything in the filing. I had evidence of her infidelity, evidence of her financial exploitation of company ties, and a bulletproof timeline. The house had been purchased before our marriage, and though we'd refinanced once together, the majority of payments had come from my income. The law was on my side. But Amanda? She wasn't interested in facts, she wanted revenge. 2 days after the papers were served, she messaged me. "You're not kicking me out of my house." I didn't respond. Then she showed up. Unannounced. Stormed right up the front steps like nothing had changed and rang the doorbell 3 times in a row like she owned the place. I opened the door and stood there silently. Calm. Unbothered. She, on the other hand, looked completely unhinged. "Are you seriously trying to screw me out of everything?" she hissed. I raised an eyebrow. "Everything? Amanda, you blew up our life. All I'm doing is removing the wreckage." Her voice rose, sharp and ugly. "I sacrificed my best years with you. And now you think you're going to end up with the house, the job, and play the victim." I gestured around. "Sacrifice? You slept with my boss. In this house. While I was working overtime to keep us afloat. You cashed in your marriage like a poker chip and now you're shocked you didn't win the pot." She pushed past me into the living room. "Fine, take the job. Take the stupid corporate ladder. But I'm not leaving. We built this place together." I followed her, staying calm. "Correction, I built this. You posed for Instagram photos in front of it." She whipped around. "You're not legally allowed to kick me out." "Actually, I am. My attorney already filed a motion for exclusive use of the property pending the divorce outcome. Given your misconduct and the fact that you haven't contributed financially in over 8 months, the court will likely grant it." And then I smiled. "Oh, and there's a restraining order request in the pipeline. Not because I think you'll hurt me, but because I think you'll keep pulling stunts like this." Her jaw dropped. The air in the room shifted. For the first time since this entire thing began, Amanda looked genuinely stunned. "This is war?" she asked quietly. "No," I said, walking to the door and opening it for her. "This is peace. You should try it sometime." She stood frozen for a few seconds, then slowly walked out. I shut the door behind her. No yelling. No dramatics. Just a clean exit. I watched from the window as she sat in her car, hands gripping the wheel like she was trying not to break down. A few hours later, my lawyer called. "She's filed a motion to contest the house. Wants an emergency hearing." I laughed. "Let her. I've got the deed, the bank records, and 10 years' worth of emails she never thought I kept. She wants a war in court. I'll give her a masterclass in tactical divorce." I never thought I'd say this, but family court might be the strangest theater I've ever seen, and I work in corporate IT. It's like a bad play where everyone's trying to outdrama each other. But me? I didn't need drama. I brought facts. And I brought a damn good lawyer. Amanda showed up to the hearing like she was walking a red carpet. White dress. Pearl earrings. Hair in a soft bun. She even wore nude pumps, the kind she used to brag about because they made her look innocent. The irony wasn't lost on me. It was a performance from the second she stepped out of that Uber. She played the role perfectly, soft-spoken, gracious, wounded. Told the court she felt unsafe being forced out of her home. Claimed I'd been emotionally distant, manipulative, controlling. The usual bag of tricks. She even tossed in a line about financial abuse, which nearly made me laugh out loud. Amanda hadn't paid for a single bill in over a year. Not rent, not utilities, not groceries. But now she was Mother Teresa with a bruised heart and nowhere to go. Please. When it was our turn, my lawyer calmly laid out the evidence. She opened with the deed, proving I'd purchased the house 3 years before our marriage. She showed the payment history, 93% of which came from my income. Then she submitted proof of Amanda's infidelity, just enough to demonstrate breach of marital contract, not to humiliate her, though I won't lie, watching Amanda squirm in her seat was satisfying. We also submitted digital receipts of Amanda's misuse of Gregory's company card. Not just dinners, but spa charges, luxury rides, a weekend getaway billed as a client off-site. The kicker? Amanda had sent an invoice from her personal business to Gregory's department to reimburse her for consulting hours. That little fraud nugget lit the judge's eyebrows right up. Amanda's attorney tried to object, claiming character assassination. The judge shut it down. If your client is contesting property ownership and basing her claim on partnership contribution, the court is obligated to consider how that partnership functioned in reality. Translation: if you want a piece of the pie, you better prove you helped bake it. Amanda's face went sheet white. But the best part? When the judge asked if she had anything else to offer to prove her equal contribution to their house, Amanda mumbled something about emotional labor. The judge sighed. That's not quantifiable in this hearing. Do you have financial documentation? She said nothing. 3 days later, the decision came in. I retained full ownership of the house. Amanda was ordered to vacate permanently within 14 days. The judge strongly advised mediation for the remaining asset division. I got the email at work, leaned back in my chair, and smiled. An hour later, Amanda texted me. "You're destroying me." I replied. "You destroyed yourself. I just stopped shielding you from it." Amanda requested one last sit-down before mediation. She said she wanted to talk without lawyers. I wasn't planning to entertain it, but my attorney encouraged me. Better to hear her out than give her ammunition for court. Just don't go alone. And keep your cool. So I agreed, on neutral ground. A local cafe. Mid-morning. Public enough that she couldn't pull anything wild, quiet enough for real conversation. I arrived 5 minutes early. Amanda was already there, sitting at a corner table with a latte she probably hadn't touched. She looked thinner, more tired. Her makeup was lighter, her hair pulled back in a way that screamed, effortlessly broken. She was playing the part of their humbled woman. Too bad I'd seen the raw footage behind the scenes. I sat across from her. "Amanda." She looked up. "Dan. Thanks for meeting me." Silence. I waited. I want to say I'm sorry," she began, voice soft and trembling. "I know sorry doesn't fix anything. But I mean it. I lost control. I was selfish. And I hurt you." For a moment, I felt something stir. Not sympathy. Not longing. Just the weight of history. 9 years together. Countless dinners, vacations, holidays, plans. Gone. She kept going. "When you left, I thought I'd be fine. That Greg and I would," she stopped herself. "That it wouldn't matter. But when it all came crashing down, I realized how much I depended on you. For everything. And not just money. You were the only real person in my life. The only one who ever actually showed up." I nodded. Let her sit in that for a moment. Then I asked, "So why are we here?" She blinked. "What? You didn't call this meeting to just say sorry. What do you want?" The mask slipped a bit. She hesitated. "I was hoping maybe we could figure things out. Without dragging this through court. Maybe even start over someday." There it was. The final move. The last card she had to play. She'd tried seduction. She'd tried guilt. She'd tried aggression. And now? desperation. I leaned in, calm but firm. Amanda, you cheated on me with my boss. Lied to my face for months. Slept in my bed with another man and had the audacity to say I was distant. You didn't just betray me, you tried to burn down my life. Tears welled in her eyes. I know. I hate myself for it. Good. That's a start. But I'm not interested in fixing something you killed. She reached across the table, tried to touch my hand. I pulled back. You don't love me anymore, she said, half whisper. No, I said simply. I love peace now. She nodded slowly, eyes filled with tears, biting her lip like she wanted to say more but knew it wouldn't matter. Then I stood. I wish you the best, Amanda. I really do. But you don't get to write a new ending just because you don't like how this one turned out. I left her there, sitting alone with her untouched coffee and a storm she created all by herself. That was the last time I saw her in person. Walking away from Amanda that day didn't feel triumphant, it felt necessary. Like I'd finally taken the last box out of a house that had already burned down. The closure wasn't clean, but it was complete. The following week, her final belongings were picked up by a moving company she hired. I wasn't home, I made sure of that. Left the garage open, told the driver where to park, and took myself out for breakfast instead. When I got back, the house was quieter than ever. And for the first time, I didn't hate the silence. It was mine. No perfume lingering in the air. No angry text messages. No locked phone face down on the nightstand. Just peace. I spent the next few days doing things I hadn't done in years, real things, not distractions. I repainted the guest room. I threw out every wine glass she picked. I even adopted a dog from a local shelter. Big mutt named Bear who doesn't care about brands, selfies, or status. Just wants belly rubs and to sit next to me while I read. The house started to feel like home again. At work, the transition into Gregory's old role was smoother than I expected. People were cautious at first, probably wondering if I was just another version of him in a different suit. But I didn't micromanage. I didn't flirt with interns or expense filet mignon under team bonding. I just did the job. Well. One afternoon, our HR head knocked on my door. She smiled and said, "The team says it feels healthier here now. You've got a calm leadership style. Keep that up." I'd never heard the word calm used as a compliment before. But I took it. Amanda, meanwhile, faded from the periphery. A few mutual acquaintances told me she moved into a smaller place downtown, tried rebooting her consulting business, even dabbled in podcasting. None of it stuck. Her online following fizzled out once the sponsors disappeared. She still posted now and then, quotes about growth, resilience, and betrayal, conveniently skipping over the part where she was the betrayer. I didn't engage. One day, though, curiosity got the better of me. I checked her profile. She'd posted a video, clearly trying to go viral, talking about reclaiming your power after emotional abuse. The comments were filled with women praising her strength. I shook my head. That was Amanda in a nutshell, reinventing herself as the hero in her own mess, rewriting history with just enough vagueness to stay unaccountable. But I didn't feel angry. I just felt tired of it. So I closed the tab, deleted her number once and for all, and walked outside to throw the ball for Bear. Sun was setting. Sky on fire. And I realized this was it. The moment I officially got my life back. No more lies. No more gaslighting. No more walking on eggshells in my own home. Just me. My peace. My freedom. About 2 months after Amanda's belongings were out of the house and her name removed from every account that mattered, I figured I'd heard the last of her. I wasn't checking her socials anymore. I wasn't asking mutual friends for updates. I was moving on, and honestly, it felt good to forget she even existed for days at a time. But karma doesn't forget. It was a Thursday morning when I got a call from Mark, An old colleague who used to work under Gregory and had recently moved to a tech PR firm that had, interestingly enough, interviewed Amanda for a consultant role. Mark and I were never particularly close, but we always respected each other, so I was surprised to see his name pop up on my phone. I answered, and after a brief hello, he cut right to it. "Hey, man. I just wanted to give you a heads up. Amanda applied to do some PR work with us, and, well, let's just say she didn't expect your name to come up." Apparently, Amanda had walked into that interview like she always did, polished, smiling, with her best "I'm a phoenix who rose from emotional ashes" story ready to go. What she didn't know was that the company had an informal vetting policy that involved checking with past associates if any red flags came up. Mark knew we had been married and quietly asked me about her track record. I didn't tell him everything. I didn't have to. Just said, she's creative with the truth. Not a great track record with professional boundaries. And she left a mess behind. That was enough. They passed on her. I could almost hear her reaction in my head, probably blamed sexism, called the process corrupt, maybe even accused someone of blacklisting her. But the truth? Her own choices were chasing her now. Everywhere she went. Then came the next domino. A few weeks later, I got another message. This time from Julia, an ex-friend of Amanda's who used to kiss her ass in public but clearly couldn't stand her in private. She sent me a screenshot of Amanda's new podcast getting ripped apart in the comments section. Apparently, a listener had recognized Amanda's voice and linked it to an anonymous expose blog someone wrote months ago, one that detailed an affair between a married woman and her husband's superior, right down to their wine glass incident at a corporate gala. The blog didn't name names, but people love drama. It spread fast. Amanda's credibility tanked. Again. The best part. I didn't write that blog. I didn't comment. I didn't like, share, or breathe on it. I had nothing to do with it. People did it on their own. Because liars eventually get caught. And manipulators eventually run out of victims to fool. I sat back and watched it unfold like a spectator at a fireworks show. It was poetic. Beautiful. And I didn't have to lift a finger. When you stop protecting people from their consequences, the world has a funny way of handling the rest. "You'll never find anyone better than me," Amanda had spat at me the night I told her I was filing for divorce. At the time, I didn't even flinch. Because deep down, I already knew she was wrong. Not just wrong, delusional. But what I didn't realize then was how profoundly right I was about what would come after. It happened on a Thursday evening. Funny how so many big shifts in my life seem to happen on Thursdays. I was invited to a local tech panel to speak about cybersecurity trends. Not glamorous, but it's my wheelhouse. After the panel, there was a networking mixer. I almost skipped it. I'd gotten used to solitude and wasn't in the mood to schmooze, but something told me to hang around for at least one drink. That's when I met her. Let's call her Natalie. She wasn't loud. She wasn't in your face. She didn't walk in like she owned the room, she just moved through it like she didn't owe it anything. Her smile was calm, not forced. Her voice. Confident but not performative. We got paired together in some awkward icebreaker about biggest digital disasters, and we hit it off instantly. She was witty, sharp, and had this grounded energy that felt rare. We ended up talking for 2 hours straight. No pretense, no posturing. Just two people who'd been through life and weren't trying to impress anyone. Over the next few weeks, we kept in touch. It started with coffee. Then dinner. Then one night turned into morning, and for the first time in a long time, I woke up beside someone and didn't feel the weight of disappointment or suspicion. I just felt safe. Natalie didn't play games. She didn't test me to see if I'd chase her. She didn't need Instagram validation or public drama to feel powerful. She was powerfully secure in who she was. And she saw me, not just as a paycheck, or a project, or a man to fix, but as a partner. One night, a few months into dating, she asked me why I hadn't really told her about my ex. I hesitated, then finally shared the whole story. The cheating. The lies. The fallout. I was bracing for judgment, maybe even discomfort. Instead, she looked at me and said, "You must have been so tired trying to keep that marriage afloat." It hit me like a wave. She didn't ask why I didn't fight harder. She didn't suggest that maybe Amanda had a point. She saw the emotional weight I'd carried and didn't try to invalidate it. And in that moment, I realized Amanda hadn't just been wrong, she had been catastrophically blind. I did find someone better. Someone smarter. Kinder. More emotionally mature. Someone who didn't need to tear me down to feel tall. And the best part? I wasn't even looking. They say the best revenge is living well. That's true. But what Amanda never understood is that peace, genuine, boring, beautiful peace, is the most powerful upgrade a man can find. It was late. Not even midnight drama late, more like 2:13 a.m., the kind of hour where mistakes are born and dignity goes to die. I was in bed, Natalie sleeping softly beside me, her hand resting lightly on my chest. Peaceful. Steady. Real. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. Normally, I wouldn't even glance at it during sleep hours, but old habits die hard. I picked it up and saw the name I hadn't seen in weeks, maybe months. Amanda. The message preview alone told me everything I needed to know. I still think about us. I was stupid. I miss what we had. I stared at it for a long time. Not because I was tempted, not in the slightest, but because of what it meant. Even after everything. After cheating on me with my boss. After trying to paint herself as the victim. After lying in court, trying to take the house. After smearing my name in whispers while rebuilding her brand. Even after watching me rebuild myself into someone stronger, quieter, better. She still hadn't let go. And that's the part that almost made me feel sorry for her. Because that message wasn't love. It wasn't regret. It was a woman finally realizing that all her illusions, the pedestal she'd built for herself, the fantasy she'd chased, had crumbled. And she was left standing alone in the ruins of her own choices. Maybe she missed the stability. The way I used to make coffee for her every morning. The way I handled everything behind the scenes so her world could run smoothly. Maybe she missed the safety of knowing someone was always there, no matter how reckless she got. But love? No. Amanda never loved me. She loved how I made her feel about herself. And once I stopped being useful to that image, she replaced me. Or tried to. Now, she was looking for that feeling again. And I wasn't going to give it to her. I set the phone down without replying. No anger. No satisfaction. Just nothing. Natalie stirred beside me. "Everything okay?" she mumbled sleepily. "Yeah," I whispered, brushing her hair back. "Everything's perfect." That message from Amanda? It's still sitting there. Unread. Unanswered. Because some doors don't need to be slammed shut, they just need to stay closed. Forever. Our 9th wedding anniversary came and went with barely a thought for me. A year earlier, it had been a date I dreaded, something I circled on the calendar with quiet resentment, unsure whether to fake affection or brace for another round of passive-aggressive silence from Amanda. Now? It was just another Tuesday. But on that same day, a letter arrived at my office. No return address. Just my name, in Amanda's handwriting. I knew it instantly, she always looped their D in Daniel like it was part of a Valentine. I stared at it for a long while. Thought about throwing it away. Burning it. Leaving it unopened in a drawer for some future version of me to deal with. But curiosity is a stubborn thing. I opened it. It wasn't long. Just 2 pages, handwritten. The first half read like a confession, the kind you give when the therapist asks you to write out your guilt. I know I destroyed what we had. I don't expect forgiveness. But I think about it all the time. How you used to look at me. How safe I felt with you. You were always good to me, even when I didn't deserve it. That last line almost got me. Greg wasn't what I thought. He told me I was special, but I was just the next shiny thing. When he left, he didn't even say goodbye. Just a forwarded email saying his resignation was final. I thought I'd won some twisted competition. But I lost. You were the prize, Dan. Not him. The second page took a more desperate tone. She asked me to consider, someday, not now, not soon, but maybe years down the road, could we have a coffee and talk as friends? I folded the letter back up and placed it in my desk drawer. Not because I wanted to keep it, but because it didn't deserve to go in the trash, not yet. It was a relic. A fossil from a life I no longer lived. A symbol of the woman who once convinced herself she could lie her way into a new identity. I never wrote her back. I never even acknowledged it. Instead, that weekend, I took Natalie on a weekend getaway. We stayed in a cabin by the lake. No cell service. No noise. Just us, Bear the dog, and the sound of wind in the trees. One night, we sat by the fire, sipping wine, legs touching, hearts open. I told her the anniversary had just passed. She didn't ask a lot of questions, just took my hand and said, "And look at everything you've built since." She was right. I didn't need revenge anymore. I didn't need to win the breakup. I'd already won the only thing that mattered, my life back. Amanda's letter stayed in that drawer for another 2 months, untouched, until one day, during a routine office decluttering, I picked it up and tossed it in the shredder. No drama. No hesitation. Just the quiet finality of a man who no longer needs closure from someone who never deserved him in the first place. If you had asked me a year ago where I saw myself now, I'd have probably laughed, bitter, broken, and buried under debt, depression, and divorce paperwork. Back then, I couldn't imagine a life without Amanda. I thought being alone would crush me. That losing her would mean losing everything. But I was wrong. I didn't lose everything. I lost the thing holding me back from becoming the man I actually liked being. So, if I could go back and talk to that version of me, the one who lay awake at night wondering what he did wrong, the one who stared at text messages from G with his heart in pieces, the one who kept blaming himself for a woman's betrayal, I'd say this. You're not weak. You're not broken. You were lied to, gaslit, and manipulated, but you're not unlovable. She didn't cheat because you weren't enough. She cheated because she was never capable of appreciating someone who was. And as painful as it is now, you'll be grateful she showed you who she really was. Because the moment she did, you were free. Free to reclaim your peace. Free to rebuild without the weight of pretending. Free to rediscover the version of you that existed before the emotional erosion. Free to love again, this time, someone real. Natalie wasn't the finish line. She wasn't my reward for surviving Amanda. She's her own woman. But she came into my life when I stopped chasing validation and started embracing stillness. She found me, not broken or bitter, but healing, rebuilding, and whole enough to start again without dragging my past behind me. There are still tough days. Scars don't disappear overnight. But now when I wake up, there's no pit in my stomach. No dread. No pretending. Just fresh air, quiet mornings, and peace. I walk through my house and see the ghost of a life I once thought was perfect. And I smile. Not because I miss it, but because I escaped it. So to every man, or woman, going through betrayal, heartbreak, humiliation, you'll survive. And if you do it right, you won't just survive, you'll thrive. Quietly. Powerfully. Completely. And one day, you'll look at the wreckage they left behind and realize, you built a palace from the ruins. They lost you. But you found yourself. The end.